Hello boys and girls, Lord Hawkeye here again. This is going to be a video response to a DavidJohnWellman who made a series of videos entitled Libertarians and Randroids. Yeah, first of all, I'd like to say off the bat, if you're going to complain about ad hominem attacks, it really doesn't help your case if your video's title contains what could be construed as an ad hominem attack, because you might find this surprising, but not everyone who disagrees with you worships Ayn Rand. Just an idea. Anyways, moving on. You make a number of points in your videos. Fortunately for me, 99% of them are because my imaginary contract says so, which makes my job just that much easier. Thanks a lot. Anyways, what I find most hilarious in your videos is that you argue that the social contract is voluntary because you have the option to move to another government, and thus have a different social contract thrust on you. This is basically giving people the choice between puke and shit, but they have to eat one of them. And we, the anarchists and everything like that, are saying, but we don't want to eat either of them. And you're saying, oh no, you're not allowed to do that. But this is still totally a free choice because you can pick between the choices I put forward for you. Yeah, I don't think so. And what's really rich about the whole you can move out thing is that, well, let me let you know a secret. In order to move out of the country, you have to get your government's permission to do it, you know, with that whole passport thing. So in other words, you're arguing that this is a voluntary contract because in order you can choose not to go along with it, but you have to get permission to take that option. Yeah. Whatever. Let's see, and more problems with the social contract accrue. Next is the problem that this is basically a government can do no wrong sort of argument. Because basically under this incredibly flawed logic, everything the government does is legitimate because if the people didn't like it, they should have moved away. The government interring the Japanese during World War II, legitimate. If they didn't like it, they should have moved away. Bombing Japan, legitimate. If the people didn't approve of mass murder, they should have moved away. Some very questionable taxation laws, legitimate. If you don't like it, you should have moved away. Some nude scans at the airport, legitimate. If you didn't like it, you should have moved away. And go to the airport and get a nude scan while you're going. Ugh, catch-22 there. Anyways, the other problem is the problem of universality. You see, the terms you define in the social contract that you're born into it, your parents agreed to it on your behalf. I'm not quite sure how the law works. I'm not sure your parents can actually do that, but I could be wrong. And once you're 18, the contract renews, and if you don't like it, you move away and all that sort of thing. There's one problem. I made the example in the comments that if someone called you and said he bought a car on your behalf for and sent you a bill for $20,000, and if you didn't want it, all you had to do was move away, you basically blew that off as, I don't know, whatever. Well, the reason why I make that argument is because the terms you state as legitimate for the social contract would never fly in a court of law. Never. You could never impose a contract like that and have it taken seriously. It wouldn't happen. So in other words, the government legitimizes itself using a contract that it would not allow for anybody else. You see the problem here? It's basically saying this action is moral when I do it, but immoral when anyone else does it. That's called special pleading, and it's not a very convincing argument. The first step to morality is practicing what you preach, and if there's anyone who doesn't practice what they preach, it's the government. Unbelievable. You also happen to, what I'll just touch on really briefly is, you also made the warlord argument. Yeah, I never heard that one before. You lied. And basically that if there was no government, you and your 100 friends would amass an army and take over everything. Well, I have just one question for you. How would you pay for it? Because you see, taxation is the lifeblood of wars. Without taxation, there can be no war. We oppose taxation because we oppose war. That's one of the big reasons. There's other reasons, but that's the main one. So say you were going to make a fourth one, obviously because you didn't say social contract enough for reality to alter itself in order to make it legitimate, but who knows? I always love to be surprised, even though I'm constantly disappointed that they just keep using the same arguments over and over, because ultimately statists don't have arguments. All they have are threats. It's basic. They say it's voluntary, but ultimately it's just basically agree with me or else. Because if you don't, we'll have you thrown in jail. But hey, it's totally all about freedom, isn't it? Oh, and here's my favorite bit about the social contract. Even if, let's suspend reality for a second and say it totally is legitimate. Let's just say it's totally legitimate. Everything you say is true. There's still one other problem. That being the government's side of the bargain. You see, contrary to what you claim in your video, the citizenry does not agree to the Constitution. The Constitution does not apply to you as a citizen. The Constitution is a contract that the government agrees to. Notice how the president swears an oath to uphold the Constitution. So does the army, so does the Congress, so does the police, so does everyone who works in government. The Constitution is a set of what they can and cannot do. Like, take the example of free speech. If someone comes into your house and starts preaching, you don't have to respect his right to free speech. You can kick him out. It's the government who's not allowed to suppress free speech. It is the government who is not allowed to suppress the right to bear arms and all the other things in there. It's a list of things that the government can and cannot do, and they legitimize it by swearing an oath to it. Well, guess what? Your government breaks the Constitution all the time, flagrantly. There's no point in even denying it. So even if the social contract is legitimate, the government is not upholding its end of the bargain and thus invalidates it right there. So no matter how you toss it, the social contract is completely imaginary. And even if it weren't, it still wouldn't hold up anyway. It's not consistent, and the government's not holding up its end anyway. So no matter how you slice it, it all falls apart. I look forward to seeing part 4. I have a pretty good idea what it's going to be, but hey, try and surprise me. I'd always love to see it sometime. Well, until next time, be aware and be wise.